What is up, my lovely people in BluCranium land? So for today's video, guys, I'm going to be drawing you all this textured jawbone, and the program that I'm going to be using is Procreate. The size of the canvas is going to be 4000 pixels, which will be the width, and then 3000 pixels, which will be the height. That's just the dimensions I chose, and you can pretty much change it up to whatever you want. But I think at this canvas size, it kind of looks really crispy and clear, so it helps it out with the YouTube video. The brushes that I'm going to be using is under the classic library tab, and the first one's going to be the studio pen, which is under the inking tab, and then the other one is called the Narinder pencil, which is under the sketching tab. I'll be using two layers. One will be the inking layer, and then one will be the sketch layer. So if that's something you guys are interested in, stick around and let's get started. So I'm first going to start out by using the Narinder pencil, and the reason I choose this pencil is because it kind of mimics a digital version of kind of like a lead pencil, kind of like a 4H. And the only thing that kind of hinders the sketch over here, if you'll notice, it looks like a Santa Claus boot as of right now, is I've got this Zugu case, which is actually a premium case. But the thing that I have noticed over the past year and a half of having this case is, you see the little lip that kind of goes around the actual tablet, that's where the actual flap closes on. It kind of hinders you drawing freely, because the what is it, the little glove that I have on, it kind of keeps getting caught over there. So the drawing kind of comes out a little bit stiff. Sometimes what I'll do is, I'll start out more on the left side, and then I'll use the selection tool, which is the little arrow on the top corner or the top left corner of the screen where you see the gallery function. It's the very fourth button or tab at the very end, so you can just kind of move stuff around, which is kind of cool. So with this being said, now I've got this basic shape, which is going to be like a jaw in an open kind of a setting. And you can pretty much draw the rough sketch any which way you want. It doesn't have to be exactly the way I'm doing it. This is just, like as I said, just a demo. And since this is going to be like a fictitious skull, not a skull, the jaw, and it's going to be something that's out of my imagination. You can really play around with the shapes and make it something totally new, unique. It could be like a blending of two jaws. Maybe you could blend an actual human jaw with maybe an alligator jaw. Have fun and just try any jaw that you want, or come up with something. It's kind of like almost like doing a creature design. So now that we've got the basic the foundation of what the jaw is going to look like, then you can pretty much kind of start out by figuring out where you want the placement of the teeth. The teeth doesn't have to be perfect, and this is what I was talking about, using the selection and kind of just centering it on the page. So now I'm first going to start out by drawing the first tooth, which is the bottom one, or the one in the center, or in the front rather. And then kind of just start building out the different other teeth. And you can start from left and go all the way to the right, or you can start in the very front and then you kind of work your way or work it up to one side, and then slowly go to the other side. It doesn't have to as I said, it does not have to be exactly how I'm doing it. This is just a demo, and you can play around with the shapes for the teeth. This one I chose to be kind of like an inverted version of a shark tooth, and then you have the molars over there at the back. And then if you're looking for inspiration, Pinterest is kind of a really good place to start. especially like if you're trying to draw some teeth out of your imagination, and you don't want it to be something that's already out there. Just look at Pinterest and you'll get a whole lot of ideas on there, which is what I like to do, especially when I'm not drawing, or maybe if I'm not drawing digitally, that is. And then just draw in my sketchbook and just keep practicing your skill and see where it goes. So this morning I was on the wonderful Amazon.in, which is Amazon India, and I was just kind of browsing and looking at different sketchbooks. And this is kind of really weird that I didn't know this, but for the longest time, how A4 is like the standard size for a printer paper, and I actually thought A3 would be smaller, but in actual reality the size A3 is just as big as how a t-shirt print would be. And then A5 is kind of like an in-between size of A4, or like a little bit smaller than A4. And I was just kind of what do you call it I don't know, dumbfounded to the fact that based on the size going A3, A4, A5, that A5 would have been the biggest. But that's not the case. If people know that out there, that's a good thing. But I was like, man, I was kind of surprised to, not really surprised, but it was kind of like confusing to know that A5 is smaller and then A3 was the biggest. But anyway, that's my story for Amazon. So now I'm gonna go ahead and turn down the opacity to about maybe 10-20%. So as I said, this will just be like a rough guide as to build the actual skull on. Go ahead and zoom in that, choose my wonderful studio pen, and begin the fun process of inking. The studio pen, I think, has got to be definitely one of my favorite pens under the classic library. And I think the reason what I like about it is, you can start out with these really thin lines, and then you just gotta push down with the pencil, and then you get these nice crispy thick looking lines. So you can kind of vary the line weight when you're starting the whole digital inking part. Originally when I first used to draw with ink in my sketchbooks, I used to usually not do anything or not mess around with the whole line weight. So it's when you look at my older pieces, or rather when I look at my older pieces, there's no what is the word I was trying to look for, is character or definition, because all the line weight is the same size. But when you start inking and you do it a whole lot more, you can definitely tell the difference in adding the thicker lines and then the thinner lines. Thicker would obviously be where the light doesn't hit, and then the thinner lines would be where the light does hit. So kind of learn that from another artist. And then kind of also when you do your self-study, or you're just observing things and drawing along, you kind of tend to notice how the shadow area is going to look darker and all that fun stuff. But talking about drawing in general, as I said, when I'm not recording any YouTube videos, for me usually my day consists of just having a drawing book and just drawing in it. Or if I want to work on something of my own, like a personal piece, I'll just kind of have one of my favorite artists that I follow, and then just kind of listen to what they are talking about, or the different art lessons or tutorials, or some kind of you always tend to learn some sort of new information, and you tend to kind of store it in your virtual what do you want to call it, your virtual toolbox, which I guess everybody has. And the artist that I was talking about, his name is, I believe, Bobby, and the channel that he runs or organizes is called Draw Sessions. So what is nice about his channel is he focuses on creature art, and he had actually gone to school for industrial design, which is the same thing that I had gone to, I want to say about 23 years ago. And the thing with my art is, the last time I drew and actually had an actual drawing book was back in 2003, which is a whole lot of years ago. And what I really missed about is, having my drawing books with me whenever I would go out, and like at least when I was in college. And then, I would just kind of draw along what I see, and or just make notes in it. So like, his channel is all about mostly drawing in drawing books and going about the drawing aspect in the traditional approach. So he talks a lot about like, how you can use big pens for shading. And, I used to use big pens when I had my older drawing books, and they're definitely fun to shade with. So what I did was, as I said earlier on today, when I was on Amazon, I went ahead and picked myself up some drawing books and a few or 2 boxes of big pens. And I got the ones which are the medium tip, and then I got the ones which are I think it's called the extra fine tip, which is a really cool tip to use because it really helps with like, when you draw those really fine lines. And then the medium one kind of helps when you want to draw down the thick lines. And so what my plan is, I don't know if I said this in my previous videos, but if I'll say it again, is I want to start up these drawing book sessions of mine, and like, kind of just draw along and kind of tell you guys what my thought process is and what I'm going to be drawing. Some days it'll be just like a random thing, but pretty much it'll just be art out of my imagination, which is like, if I look back at my older drawing books, I don't really have any of them right now, but it's amazing, like, when I look at them and see the stuff that I used to draw. It used to range like, I used to like drawing cars, and then I used to like drawing heavy machinery, like, like trucks and cranes and like, the construction equipment and all that. It used to be a whole lot of fun, not just drawing them, but actually looking at them when they were at the actual work sites. And I don't know why I'm telling you guys all this, but because I'm supposed to be talking to you about drawing this beautiful looking jaw. But I figured, like, just run that by you and figure out what is it your guys' thoughts are. Leave me a comment below if you guys would be interested in seeing me draw in my wonderful sketchbook when it does arrive. I was thinking maybe I'll do like a unwrapping, kind of like, showing that it's officially new and kind of fresh out of the Amazon box. And we'll see how that goes. So what I'm gonna actually do is, I think maybe is I'll start like, with doing some thumbnails. And there's a story about that. I don't know if I did tell you, but I'll probably tell it to you right now. So back when I was in industrial design, and I think it was in my very first class, we were supposed to draw a hairdryer, or that was the project. And the professor at the time was like, he's like, all right guys, I'm gonna have you do some thumbnail sketches for like, homework. And then the class used to meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So this was Tuesday, so we were supposed to have this ready for Thursday, And up until then, I had never heard of the term thumbnails, So I kind of like looked over to the guy that was sitting right next to me, and I'm like, hey, I said, what is a thumbnail? And he's like, what do you mean, what is a thumbnail? I said, yeah, what does it actually mean? Like, So he's like, oh, they're just quick, rough sketches. It's just like something that you have at the spur of the moment, and you just kind of scribble onto your drawing book and see how many you get. So I'm like, I was never really heard the term thumbnail before, so I kind of like felt like I learned a new thing in art class. And then that evening, I kind of went onto Google, and I'm trying to remember if Pinterest was around back then, back in 2003. Maybe it was, or I was just kind of looking up on Google to see what was on there. And, just kind of looked at different thumbnails of different other things, and kind of got inspired with that. And then just started doing my version of what I thought would be an ideal drawing for an actual hairdryer. So yeah, that is my brief thumbnail story, and I'm pretty sure you guys will see it when I'm actually drawing in the actual sketchbook. So maybe we'll have some fun with that and all that. So now here you can see I've started the detail process, which obviously I'm not going to tell you guys how to do it. I mean, you can just see me do it. And then, you can pretty much do your version of what you would like to experiment with your drawing, because I feel like, when I do these demos, I keep calling it demos. It's actually kind of like a tutorial, more like a voiceover. My goal is to see that maybe you guys can follow along with what I'm doing and maybe do your very own version, and I'd be more than happy to see what you guys stuff comes out like. Unfortunately on YouTube, I mean, the only place I don't think you can actually see it in the YouTube community tab. I'm not really sure if people can post over there, because I've kind of played around with that, and sometimes somebody will use the little thumbs up like button. So yeah, but I don't know, this video has pretty much been a whole ramble on session, and as I said, I just wanted to tell you guys or keep you updated on what my thoughts are for the upcoming videos. As I said, I'm kind of excited to get this whole new sketchbook and start doing the thumbnails all over again, and then actually starting out, maybe doing some venture out and trying to do some little bit of some creature design, because I always enjoyed horror movies, and especially the sci-fi ones, like how you have the Predator ones, and then what is it, like the movie Thing, where you have these kind of really cool looking alien creatures from outer space. So drawing something from your imagination is totally fun and exciting, because you can make something or create a creature that doesn't even exist. So that's probably going to be what's going to be in this sketchbook, and hopefully I'll be able to record most of what I draw. And if I don't end up recording everything I draw, I'll probably do a preview of what I did draw in the few pages. But for the most part, I'll try to document and tell you guys what I'm drawing, and maybe you guys can join along and see how it goes. But anyway, guys, I guess we'll go ahead and wrap this video up and say thank you to everyone that was here for drawing along. And as always, keep creating, keep drawing. I will see you guys down the road or on the other side. Bye for now.